I,
Harold, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
Let's see. Do you know where we are? I think I missed last night. So we're on 34.
I'm 30. I missed last night too because
Oh,
so I think we did 33.
okay.
Uh, so 34 I did yesterday.
Okay.
We're
Very good.
on 30, 35.
Oh,
You keep on moving the time.
right, because he's in Israel now, so I guess that works best for
No, but it was
everybody.
supposed to be 9:30,
Oh, it
but
was. Oh,
we're going to change it to 9 o'clock.
oh, okay. Um, yeah, 9 p.m. Okay.
Where were you for Shavuos?
I was home. They didn't go
Yeah,
anywhere.
yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
You know, Yom
Yeah.
Yisrael.
Yeah. Some people went to the desert. It's
Yeah, well, a lot of people went up to Oxnard.
Oh, Oxnard, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Should have been nice.
Yeah, the weather was not bad, and the hotel there is nice.
Yeah, it was very nice. Yeah, a few people have homes there already. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever happened to that Adler? Never used to be part of, what's his name? The stockbroker.
stockbroker. He's part of the shear, you mean?
Yeah,
Oh, Alter. Kenny Alter.
Penny Alter.
Yeah,
Alter.
yeah. He learns, well, he goes to Rabbi Krause's shear in the morning now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's, I guess the time was better for him.
Okay,
He's up early in the morning anyway because of the stock market. So he figured might as well just do the daf when he's up.
I hear. Yeah, he has a place out there.
Yeah, he has a place. Yeah, a lot of LA guys from our side of town have places there. I haven't been there in a while. I was there maybe 2, 3 years ago. It's pretty nice. It's only an hour, so it's good.
Yeah, a good escape.
What's that?
I said it's a good escape.
Yeah, yeah. Mario's coming.
Good morning. I'm sorry. Good evening.
Good
Hello.
evening. Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, you say good morning to everyone. Okay. Abe, your beard is getting.
I know, I know.
You look
Sometimes
like you look like a sage.
there's times and then I'll shave it if they tell me I'm a sage.
We're on Lamed 34.
34.
The next time we're going to learn will be Motzei Shabbos at 9:30.
Okay.
Okay?
Very good.
So Lamed Daled Lamed Aleph. Kolachas v'yachas. If a person took multiple oaths that were false, whether he took it bifnei bezdin or shlo bifnei bezdin, whether the oaths were taken in Bezdin or outside of Bezdin. And those oaths are talking about denying of money. So, Eidish losa banoshim kanoshim. Now, being asked to be an aid, and the person swears, I don't know anything about what you want me to be an aid for. That's called shvus eidus. There, women are not fit to be aidim. So they're not in the parsha like men. Similarly, kroivim kirchoikim, if there are relatives involved, or psulim kiksherim, where somebody has a puzzle aid, like he's a masachek bekubia, he plays dice. Ve'enu chayv achas. If he took multiple oaths, he's only bringing one korban. B'fnei bezdin, einu din shlo yeh medaber b'tvias mamon. Kal v'chomer, it should also be that there's got to be denial of money. We say, no, mala pikodon, maybe pikodon is different. Shekain lo asaba mushba kinishba. There, you can't be asked to take an oath by a third party. The guy who's requesting the item, who deposited it with his neighbor, he has to be the initiator of the shvua, not a third party. Similarly, v'mezid kishogeg. There, you are chayv a korban whether you did it b'mezid or shogeg. Torah b'shvus eidish kenasa b'mushba kenish, but there, you could, by shvus eidish, even if a third party tells the eidim, take an oath, umezid kishogeg, that they're also, they bring a korban talmud lemer techta, l'gzer shava. Nemer kan, by shvus eidus it says techta. But never lahalon by shvus pikodin it says techta. Malahalon by shvus pikodin enu medaber b'tvias mamon. If you leave your watch with your neighbor, and now he's claiming that he doesn't have it, that's a money claim. That's the proof that the shavua has to be about a subject matter involving money. Maskif l'Rabba Bar Ula. It says, O nefesh kisi shava lehara o lehetiv. That's when you take a shvua. Shvua speed to it, like I take a shvua that I'm going to eat this loaf of bread today. And you have these o, multiple O's. So we said bitu yachiku. We said there shehin oyin v'yeshamayim shvua v'enimon kohen. There's no kohen involved in a shvua bitui when a person says, I take an oath, I want to eat a loaf of bread. Kohen is not involved in that. And I'm learning a Gzera Shava to a subject matter also that doesn't have a kohen. Umidvarim shalom and umidvarim shalom b'tvias mamon. And it also, shvuas bitui is no claim regarding a money claim. I'm going to eat this loaf of bread or not eat this loaf of bread. It has nothing to do with money. So, mistavish mebikon navle melev. The Gzer Shava O makes more sense to learn from Shvus HaPikodo, where a person takes an oath where he doesn't have an item that was deposited with him by his neighbor went to China. Shekain, techta mitechta, because it says techta both. So the says Adarabba, bitu havle melev shekain chatas mechatas. In both of them, they bring a korban chatas by Shvus Edus, but by Shvus Pikodin, there's a korban osham. It makes more logical sense to learn it from Pikodin because they share chet, mezid, tove, kafre, va'avre. These are the areas where they're similar. In both places, it writes techta. Both time you bring a korban, whether you did it b'shogeg or b'mezid, and both are brought on one, there's a claim on one side, and there's a denial on the other side. And their claims on the past and not on the future. Adarabba, mibitu havledamela. The O Gzer Shava should be learned from Shvus Puti, Bitui, Shekain, Chatas, Sheyarda L'choimesh. There's a korban chatas, not an asham is by a pikadon. The kind of korban is a sliding scale korban. If you're rich, you bring an animal. If you're less rich, you bring a bird. By shvus pikadon, it's a standard korban, which is korban asham. And on both of those, you don't have to add a fifth, which by a shvus pikadon, you have to add a fifth. However, hadach lefishim, the comparison between pikadon and shvus ha'edus are more numerous in the comparisons. Therefore, it makes more logical sense to do the Gzer Shava regarding Tvias Mammon is on Shvus Edus and Shvus Apikodin and not on a Shvus Bitui. That's how the Gemara learned. Then the Brisa said, Rabbi Kiva Oimer, V'haya ki esham la'achas me'ela. You're going to be guilty of one of these things. Meaning, yesh me'ela shuchayiv. There's some chatoim that you do involving a shvuah, where you have to bring a korban. V'yesh me'ela shupoter. Haketza. Tavu mamon chayiv. If the shvuah is denying some kind of money claim, then you'd be chayiv. Tavu davaracher. If it's something else not related to money, potter. So Rabbi Kiva has a very simple learning. Not a Gzer Shava, has nothing to do with the OO. It has to do la'achas me'ela. However, the Gemara says, Epachana. Why wouldn't we say the opposite? That it's only on a tefillah that's not money. So Rabbi Kiva al Oyin, Rabbi Lev Samach, he also relies on the Gzer Shava that Rabbi Eliezer learned, and learned Shvus Ha'eden for Shvus Ha'pikadon with the OO. And how does he say it? My binayu bein Rabbi Eliezer bein Rabbi Kiva. What's the difference then between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Kiva? They're both being soymich on the same proof. Binayu mashbia ede karka. If the case involves a piece of land, where I bought this piece of land or I didn't buy this piece of land, and there's edus, but it's regarding karka. Rabbi Eliezer would chayovin. Rabbi Eliezer says even the edim that are giving testimony regarding karka, you'd be chayav a korban. But Rabbi Kiva would be pturin because me'ela, alachas me'ela, he has to be memayit something. So he's memayit karka. Rav Yochanan, Damru Hasan, Mashbia ede karka filu Rabbi Eliezer pturin. He held that everybody rejects ede karka from korban. So then hachamai. So what's according to Rav Yochanan's understanding? How would there be a difference between Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Eliezer? Being Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Kiva. Ikibinayu ede knas. We had a discussion. For example, you raped my daughter, or you were a ganef and you stole, you fell, or something like that, where there's a knas that has to be paid. And we discussed, is knas like mamoin, like money payment or not? So Rabbi Kiva would potter if it's knas, because the achas me'ela would be mema'ed the case of knas. Okay. So the Baraisa continued. Again, right now, the Gemara is in the process of analyzing this Baraisa we learned yesterday. Rabbi Yosef Glili Oimer, v'hu aid, he's a witness, o ra'ah o yada, who either saw something or knew something. And Rabbi Yosef Glili darshaned to make it mean be'edus hamiskayemes be're'iyah below yediyo v'yediyo below re'iyah kosu b'daber. This is edus that could be upheld where you saw something even though you don't know for sure what's going on, or you know what's going on without seeing. What is that? That's edus mammon. Other types of shvuah, you need re'iyah and yediyah. But by mammon, one or the other is enough. Lame Rabbi Yosef Leslie Rabacha. Therefore, says Rav Papa to Abaya, are you telling me that Rabbi Yosef Lili doesn't hold of Ravacha? Why? The Tanya. Ravacha Oimer. Gomala Oicher Ben Agmali. You see a crowd of camels, and you see one camel going nuts, jumping around, kicking, among other camels. You don't see directly that camel struck another camel. But you go into the area, you see a dead camel. So this is like, what's the word I want to use in legal terminology? Circumstantial evidence. Halacha normally, you need two ways to actually see an event, like the O.J. Simpson trial. That's circumstantial evidence. He had blood in the Bronco, blood in the backyard. No one actually saw O.J. kill his victim. They determined the case based on circumstantial evidence. So can halacha rely on circumstantial evidence? Well, according to Rav Acha, the 5 seconds before, you see a camel going nuts. And then you go inside where the camels were, and then one of the camels lying on the floor, dead. You can assume that the camel that was going nuts is the one that killed the camel, even though he didn't see it. That's circumstantial evidence. B'yudush is a hargo. And you don't have to see it directly. Because the Islay, if Rabbi Yossi Aglili accepts Rav Acha, that you can follow circumstantial evidence, which is like an umdana, well then b'dinei nefashos nami mishkachas lo. It would work by a capital crime like murder, like the case of Rav Shimon ben Shetach, the Tanya. Rav Shimon ben Shetach. Ereb Nachama, I should see Mashiach come. Im lo ra'isi, if I hadn't seen Echad Sheratz Acha Chaver L'Churpa, I saw a man chasing another man with a knife into a ruin. Varatzti Achrav, I ran in there. Umatzati Sayif Biyado, I found the guy who was running after the guy with a knife in his hand. Vidam mitaftev, and there's blood dripping from the sword. V'haharug mefarper, and this victim is lying there dying. Amarti lo Rasha, mi argolazeh. Who killed this guy? Oh, ani, oh, ata. It's either me or you, because we're the only people here. Aval ma e'eseh, she'ein damcha mosar biyadi. Your blood is not given to me to end it by me going to Bezdin as a single aid and testifying. Shari Amra Torah, Apishnai Medim or Shashaidim Yumasames. You can only declare somebody a murderer and kill him as a Rotzech if you have 2 or 3 Edim. Ela Hamakam Yipar Mimcha. Kadosh Baruch Hu, I can't take you to Bezdin, but Hashem should take care of you anyways. Right then and there, a snake came out, bit him, and he died. Now, according to Rav Acha, you'd be able to be soymich on this circumstantial evidence. It's certainly enough of a yediyah according to Rav Acha, even though he didn't see, but it seems like Rav Yosef doesn't hold of that. Because the only time you can use yediyah below riyah, or riyah below yediyah, is by mamanas cases, and not capital cases. So the Gemara says, afilu tema islay, the Rav Acha. You could say that Rabbi Yosef holds of Rav Acha, of umdana, of circumstantial evidence, even by dinah nefashos, even below re'iyah, even without actual seeing what happened. There's another way, though, of differentiating between money and capital crimes. So knowing without seeing, I can understand, even by dinah nefashos, like the case you just described. You didn't see him kill him, but you know, based on the facts of the case, that it happened. How does it work where you would see something without knowing? Milo boy Mado, you'd have to know. For example, let's say you saw somebody stab from afar, stab person A stabs person B, and you see it. The problem is you don't know the full facts. In Goy Harag, was it a Goy that was killed? Or Yisrael Harag, or was it a Jew? In Adam Treifa Harag. So you know, in Chazal time, a human being was considered a Treifa if you had an injury where the doctors estimated that you couldn't live for 12 months. That was a Treifa. If a person murdered such a person, he's a Treifa. And the guy's a Treifa, and it would not be put to death. If you think about it, it's a very high bar to ever be convicted of murder. Because in every case, a claim would be made, maybe the guy who was murdered is a treifa, even to the point, let's say you stabbed him in the chest. The people trying to get the guy off would say, you know, he had a hole in his lung already before he was stabbed, and therefore he was a treifa. So, you have to know whether it was and also if you kill a goy, you're not chayv misa. Imarim treifa harag or shalem harag. So there's a difference between mominus and other dinim, where by mominus you can have both cases, re'iyah below yediyah, yediyah below re'iyah, which doesn't work by capital crimes. Also, shmami na that from the Baraisa Ksav Rabbi Yosef Glili Mashbia Eidei Knas Potter. We talked about that if the edus that they're denying is some case where there's knas involved, like kefil is a ganav who pays double. The double is knas, or you're claiming that the guy stole a sheep and shechted it, which is daled v'chamisha, which is knas. Rabbi Yosef Glili must hold that denying knowing as an aid these things, you're potter from korban. These sakadai to chayiv, because if you're going to tell me Rabbi Yosef Glili holds your chayiv a korban, nihi yediyah below re'iyah ashkachan law. Knowledge without seeing, there is example. You didn't see the ma'isa bia, but you know that it happened. For example, rape. You don't actually see insertion, but you see the activity, you understand that it's rape. So that's yediyah below re'iyah exactly. But re'iyah below yediyah, milo boy meda, im goya ball, bas Yisrael ball. How do you know that the rape didn't happen? It's a goyata. Or maybe, and again, there's a difference in payment between a basula and a ba'ula. How do you know what she was? So it must be, since you cannot have re'iyah below yediyah and yediyah below re'iyah on both sides, Rabbi Yosef would hold that if you're a shvu on these, if you're an aid on one of these cases, you took a shvu and you denied, you'd be potter from korban. Now, on these examples of re'iyah without yediyah by mominus, Yosef Ravuna kamed Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda was sitting in yeshiva in front of Rav Yehuda. The Yosef Rav Yehuda v'koma boile. Rav Yehuda asked the following question: Mana manisi lecha, mani manisi cha, b'fnei ploni u'ploni. You know, I loaned money, $1,000, in front of Reuben and Shimon, who are Eidim. The Eidim roya somi b'chutz. The Eidim were standing outside looking through a window when the one guy was counting out the money to the other guy. Can you accept edus from those people looking in the window? Amalei Rav Hamnuna, the halal, the one who's claiming the money, matoy. What is his claim? Or the one who the one who's being asked to pay the money, what is his statement? If he says, the guy never gave me money ever, well, we know that that's not true. Because there were two Eidim in the window seeing that money changed hand. Now, we don't know the specifics about it, but the moment the guy says, oh, I never got money from him, we know we can't rely on him. No, I took money, Shakli, but it was he was giving back my money. He wasn't loaning me new money. So then Kiyosu Eidim Mayavi, just when these Eidim eventually show up to court, they don't really know. They don't know the specifics. Did he take his own money or did he take new money? Amar le Hamnuna ad alta. Come inside the yeshiva. You made very good sense. It's a good example. Person said to his friend, Mona manislcha, I loaned you $1,000, bitzad amud zeh. And we were standing next to this pillar. Amar le lo avarti bitzad amud zeh. I never was next to this pillar, ever. Also, Tresadi Asadu Bey, Shehishni Mai Mitzad Amud Zeh. Two Eidim come and said, we saw him urinate once next to this pillar. Amrish Lakish holds a kafrim. Based on the fact that he said, I was never here, and there's Eidim who said opposite, he's now, you can't believe what he says. He's a kafrim. Mazkal Rav Nachman. Hadina Parsahu, but that's Persian law. It's not Dinei Yisrael. Miko Amar, he didn't say Ma'olam. He didn't say, I would never walked near that pillar ever. So you can't parse his words. It's basic Zekomarle. He said, in this deal, I was never there at the pillar where you gave me money. And therefore, the fact that the Eidim come and say, we saw him once urinate there, he wasn't denying. He's not a kafir based on that. Okay.
I mean, not everybody remembers where Ernie, you're a urologist. Not everybody remembers which tree they urinated on. That's fine.
And that's exactly what Rav Nachman is saying. Yeah. That when you said you can reject him as a kafir, that's Persian law. It's not Jewish law, because we don't expect him to remember when he said I was never there. He's not remembering the time that he urinated there, and we don't hold him. We don't hold him to that. Exactly for Walter's Svara.
So it's not considered. He's not considered kafir. Okay,
that's the first approach. Ikedi Amri, other people though, bring the case differently. Haud Amalei L'chavi, person says to his friend, Mona manis l'cha b'tzad amud zeh. I loaned you $1,000 next to this pillar. Now here he says something different. He says, I was never there. Nafku Beisadi. So the guy who's trying to get the $1,000 from the guy finds Eidim who saw him once, who once urinated there. Here, Amar Rav Nachman holds a kafir because he used the words Amud Zeh Ba'olam. I was never there. He's a kafir. Amar Rav Nachman. That's no proof. Kol misl lo rami alei deinish avid lo v'lavadaite. This is not an important thing. This again is Walter's concept. This is not an important thing that a person is going to register where he urinates. I did it on the golf course. I did it here. I did it there. It's not something that we expect a person to register like a case or something. So the fact that he said I was never there, he's not a kafir even when he used that language. And we poskin like the lenient version, even in the second thing, even if he says, L'hayat dvarim ba'olam, and there are Eidim that said, we saw him urinate there, he's not a kafir, and we would still believe his shvuah. Now, the Baraisa was dealing regarding shvuas ha'edus, that in order to bring a korban, it has to be edus on something that's a money claim. And there, Reb Shimon Omer, Chayev Kan, Chayev, he learned it from Bikodo. First he's going to China. He leaves his gold watch with his neighbor because he's afraid he doesn't want to leave it in his house. Comes back 6 months later to his neighbor, give me my watch. And the guy says, you never gave me a watch. And he takes a shvuah. And then he's found to be a liar. That's shvuah sapikon. So Reb Shimon makes the point. You're chayiv by Shavuos Edus, where somebody knows testimony about a loan that you made to somebody, and you're chayiv by a pikodin. So just like by a pikodin, it's always a tvias momo, right? When you deposit something with your neighbor, you're claiming a monetary claim. I gave him wheat, I gave him a watch, whatever it is, you want it back, and it's worth something, and you want payment for it. So, and we were questioning, how do we know Shavuos Edus has to be about a money claim? So Reb Shimon learned it Yechayev by Shavuos Ha'edus and Yechayev by Shavuos Pikodin. By a Pikodin, it's always going to be a Tvias Mammon. So by Shavuos Edus, it has to be Tvias Mammon. Mochku Allah b'marov. They laughed at him in Eretz Yisrael. What's so funny? Diktani, because later on in the Baraisa it says, Mala Pikodin shekin lo asa b'mushba kenishba. Now, by a Shavuos Pikodin, it only works if the person who deposited it himself makes the guy take a shvuah. If a third party comes and says, oh, Chaim Yankel deposited you a watch there, it doesn't work. It's not mushba kanishba and mezid kashoigeg. So pikodin is different because it's not that you forgot, right? There's a shogeg and there's a mezid. By mezid doesn't work. But by pikodin mezid, you're chayiv as well. The fact by Shavuos Edus that has to be a Shvua mipiatzmo corruption. Where does he get that? The Gomar mipikodin, but pikodin nami mushba mipiacherim nigmar meedus. Vice versa, by the pikodin, the fact that mushba mipiacherim it works or doesn't work is also meedus. So we should say, even by pikodin, it should work, even if a third party comes to say that the watch was given to the neighbor when the guy went to China. Why does it have to be from himself? So umaychu, so maychuka. So why were they laughing? Dilma Reb Shimon doesn't learn from Exer Shava, but rather B'Kal V'Chomer Ma'asila. He learns it from a Kal V'Chomer, and this is how he learns. How do we know that by Shavuos Edus, it has to be the guy who needs testimony? He's the one who makes him take a shvuah. But mipiacherem chayiv. Now, if by Shavuos Edus a third party comes and says, "Oh, Edus for Chaim Yankel, come and testify," and they take a shvuah, and they're liars, yet even they're chayiv mipiatzmo kol shekain, it certainly should work mipiatzmo. So he wasn't laughing on the shvuah mipiatzmo part, because that can be learned from Kal V'Chomer. Elochu kal mezid kashoigeg. It's on the mezid kashoigeg part, diktani. Malabikon shkein lo asa b'mushba kinish but mezid kashoigeg. There, we did not make a person chayiv mezid kashoigeg. It's only kashoigeg. Emichti mezid gabi edus menole. Where the chlal is the chiyuv for Shavuos Edus that you're chayiv. The lo ksiv be v'nelam. The word v'nelam means you forgot. It never says nelam. So that's where we learned that there doesn't need to be forgetfulness. Even if you do it b'mezid, you're going to be chayiv. Achanami, by pikodin also lo ksiv be v'nelam. So therefore, I would have thought that by pikodin as well, you'd be chayiv for mezid. So I'm going to run al chachamim my chukah. What's wrong with that? Dilma, mezid the lav kishogig bepikodin. Because mimi'ila, Reb Shimon gomer la. Reb Shimon learns from a different halacha regarding being moel behegdish. He compares Shavuos HaPikodin to me'ila bekodshim. Over there by me'ila, you're chayiv. If I use something that belongs to hegdish, I'm chayiv only if I did it b'shoigeg. That's going to be the same thing by pikodin. V'hainu chukah, and this is why in Eretz Yisrael they laughed at it. The gomer la me'ila, until you will learn it from me'ila, nigmer la me'edus. So maybe you should learn it from Shavuos Edus where you're chayiv even from mezid. So Gemara says, no. Logically, mistavrim me'ila havleila meila. It makes more logic to learn it from me'ila. Why? Shekain me'ila me'ila. First of all, the word mal appears, it says kisimo mal by me'ila, and then by shvusa pikod it says kisimo mal. So it actually uses the word me'ila by pikod. So it makes more sense to learn the various dinim that apply to me'ila, which was you're only chayiv shoigig, not mezi, to pikodin, because the word me'ila appears there. Adarabah, just the opposite. Pun fakert. Me'edus havalela me'ila. It makes more sense to learn shvusa edus from me'ila. Why? Shekin techta mi techta. The word techta appears by me'ila and by shvusa edus. Still says the Gemara mistavra mi me'ila havalela me'lev. It makes more sense to learn me'ila to pikodin shekain. There are more reasons where a pikodin case is more similar to a me'ila case. Number one, the Torah calls them both me'ila. That's one. That's bakol. It works by everybody, women, men, right? Ksherim, family members. Doesn't have to, right? Nene, he benefited from somebody that doesn't belong to him. He ate kodshim, or he's benefiting from this pikodin that belongs to somebody else. There's atonement through a special kind of korban, which is a kavua, which is a korban osham by both me'ila and pikodin. By shvusa edus, it's a sliding scale korban. It's not a fixed korban. It's called kavua. By both me'ila and pikodin, chomesh, you have to assess the value of what the guy benefited from hektish, $1,000, and you have to add 20%. Similarly, if you took an oath that you didn't have the pikodin, and you had the pikodin, you also have to pay a fifth extra besides the principal. And in both cases, osham, that the specific korban is osham. So those are all the comparisons between me'ila and pikodin. There's like 6 of them. Adarabah. Let's see what the comparisons is to shvusa edus, to me'ila. Me'edus havalela me'ila. Shekain, chet, it says techta by both. Hedyoid, it's chulin money, not necessarily kotchim money. It's bishvua, shetavi v'kafre. There's somebody is claiming it and somebody's denying it. By me'ila, there isn't that. The o'in, we have those o multiple times. That doesn't exist by me'ila. However, hanach nefishon, the things that we said that compares me'ila to pikodin are more. Elamai chuka. So then we're back to the question: why did they laugh at him in Eretz Yisrael? Kiyasar of Papa Rav Huna Bred Rav Yoshua Ibei Rav from the Yeshiva of Rav Amri Hainu chuka. This is why they didn't accept it. Mechde. Reb Shimon b'Gzer Shava Gama. We said before, Reb Shimon learned it techta Gzer Shava. So lamalei de parech. Then what's this kasha mala pikodon shekain lo asaba mushba kinishba mezid kishogi? That it has to be the person directly who's making him take a shvuah, and mezid is kishogi the same. He should have learned it pikodon. He should have learned directly pikodon me'edus and compare everything else to that and not kal v'chomer. Umay chuka. What's the tzchok? Dilma ki parech. When he wanted to say there's a difference between them, it's mekami to take him late. The Gzer Shava, he hadn't learned the Gzer Shava. He was learning it in the classic way of Gzer Shava. About Basar to come like Gzer Shava. After he was shown the Gzer Shava, or he figured it out, he didn't have loy parach, and he thought for sure that pikodin you could chayv l'mezid kishoyge. Frankly, more of a low. What Reb Shimon doesn't hold like that. V'amar lehu Rava bar Aisi l'Rabbanan. Rava bar Aisi said to Raman Tana, who is the Tana who holds sheshvus hapikodin lo nitin zdoin l'chapara, that by shvus hapikodin there's no atonement by mezid? It's Reb Shimon he. That by shvus hapikodin there is no mezid like shoyge. Maybe Dilma, when Reb Shimon asked the question, is Memezid Kashoigig Parach. And the shaila that he was asking is this differentiation between Mezid and Shoigig. The Garment Lama Me'ila. Just like by Me'ila, you only bring a korban if you ate the thing that belonged to Hegdish B'Shoigig, you didn't know about it. Maybe it's the same thing about Bikodim. And the reason maybe he's learning Pikodim from Me'ila is, like we said, the Hanach Nefishim, that all these comparisons that we went through, that it's Korban Kavua, and all the listing that we did are greater in number than to Shuas Eidus. Aval Mushba Kinish B'Loi Parach. But the fact that the one who takes the oath versus the one who administered the oath, that's not the kasha for him. Because the Gzeir Shavak, Pikodim is going to be like Eidus, where it's Mushba Kinishba. So it comes out according to Rab Shimon, a mazid person by a Shavuos HaPikodim would not bring a korban Keshoigeg. So Teder HaEdus v'tigmar Lami Pikodim. So let's go back and learn Shavuos HaEdus from Pikodim and say, mazid the lav Keshoigeg. We're not going to treat mazid like Shoigeg because ma Pikodim Shoigeg in mazid lo. Just like Shavuos HaPikodim, you don't. If he knew for sure he was lying, not that he forgot. Mazid does not bring a korban. Af edus, shoygig in mazid lo. So too by Shavuos edus, it's only if he forgot. If it was a mazid, he knew for sure he was lying, he would not bring a korban. Ki hechi di yoliv pikodin me'ila, which was the same way we learned pikodin me'ila. So that's why lahachi kasav rachman le'edus gabi Shavuos bitu v'gabi tumas migdash udasha. The Torah specifically placed it by Shavuos Bitui, when you take an oath, like I'm not going to eat a piece of bread, or by the Averis, where a person is tummy walks into the base of Mikdash, doesn't know, by Bikulo Nemer Ben Venelam, and here by Shavuos Eidus Lo Nemer Ben Venelam, to teach me L'chai V'la Mezid Keshoigeg. So since it doesn't say Nelam by Shavuos Eidus, yet the environment that it found itself by Shavuos Bitu and Shavuos Mikdash Udasha, where it does say Nelam, points out specifically that you're chayiv, whether you're a mazid or a shogeg, by Shavuos HaPikodim. Okay. So as I said, the next time we're going to learn is Motzei Shabbos, 9:30. I can't teach tomorrow at 8 o'clock because we have bar mitzvah activities tonight at 6 here, taking pictures or something. So that doesn't work out. So we'll catch up. We'll catch up. We'll just have to keep. We might be a blot down or something. So we'll have to catch up when we get back home.
Okay,
So
Mazel
Motzei
Tov,
Shabbos.
Mazel Tov.
Thank you very much.
Mazel Tov. Shabbos.
Enjoy the
Shabbos.
Everybody.
Have a
Good
wonderful
Shabbos, everybody.
Shabbos, everybody.